Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, one of the first generative AI companies pre-transformer models that we founded in 2016. At GSD, we believe intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. So today, this is Simplenight Presents, and so today we've got an exciting guest on for our show, Dr. Priyanka Mathur. She is a doctor. She's got a very, very interesting background. Besides being a serial entrepreneur in senior living centers, she studied in Russia. And we're going to talk about that a little bit because that's quite interesting. So with that, I'd like to bring Priyanka on board. Hi, Priyanka.
Hello, Carrie. How are you?
Good. Now I got a question for you. Now I know it gets really cold in St. Petersburg, and you go shopping in places like Gastine Edward on Nevsky Prospect. Why in the world did you go to Pune to St. Petersburg? Did you say I just want to freeze or what?
Yeah, I wanted a contrast. So interestingly, I'm from a state in India that is very hot. It's Rajasthan, and it's like a desert there. So I wanted to have a contrast and go to the freezing place from there. But I ended up in Russia because of the medical system there was very close to the US, in contrast to India. So
No, I know. I mean, St. Petersburg's beautiful because I lived there for a while too, and I would lived at Din Moskovsky Prospect, and
oh
I
yeah.
remember going to the Hermitage. But I got to say, the other thing is, it does get quite cold there in January. I mean, it was like this thing. I think seals would be cold in this place. It was like unbelievable. We'd walk down the street, and you'd say to yourself, "How can the world can it be this freezing? 20 below zero, Celsius, 30 below zero." So, did it take a while to get used to it?
It did, but I think it was only the first year. After that, I think more than the cold, it's the beauty that you admire. And you would say the same because you've been there. It's beautiful in winters. It's like literally the white, the white, snow white world out there with Bailey Noche, which is white nights we call there. So it's
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful.
So Billy Noach is in the summertime though, and in the summertime it doesn't really get dark very much, does it? So, how did you sleep? Was it? I don't know about you, but for me it was really difficult because we had these sheer curtains, and I freaking try. I go to sleep and I'm like, oh, it's time to get up again. It's like 2 hours later. So,
Absolutely. So, I lived there as a paying guest as babushka, which is grandmothers, as you know, right? Babushka. And in the first year, exact the struggle. When should we sleep? Because as the circadian rhythm is, it should get dark for you to sleep. So she explained me it won't happen. You need to put the sheer curtains and you have the alarm clock. You only open the curtains when the alarm clock goes off, right? And that's how I started with first year. And then after that, I lived there for 6 years. So then I would say the next year things got more settled. I understood the new world and it was good.
yeah, the thing that happened to me is I went across the bridge during the White Nights, and I didn't realize that I went to the city and I was staying near the airport at Pokovo, and I didn't realize you can't get back out once it's locked in. You're locked down. I'm like, oh my gosh! And I happened to have a friend of mine at the time. She was waiting for me at the hotel, and I told her I wanted to come back. You can't get back. There's no way. It's like these bridges go up, and it's like out of a movie because the lights and everything go up together, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful that the
It's
bridge goes.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place. Anyhow, so going down to it. So you went down through. You studied in Pune. You ended up going to Russia. What made you decide? How did you migrate to the U.S.? What was the decision? Did you just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm going to move to L.A. I'm sick of the cold," or what?
Yeah, no, I think I'm like a world explorer. So from India, I went to Russia, and then I was like, okay, next what? I was like, okay, let's go to US. So I went after Russia, the studies. I went back to India. I worked there for a few years, and then I wanted to take a next leap, and that's where I wanted to learn more and more advancement in medicine, healthcare, and that's where I landed in California. Actually, I landed first in Texas. When I came to US, I first came to Texas, and then from Texas, I came to California.
And how was it in Texas? Did you like that or not?
So, once you live in California, any state you compare gets different.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I lived in Florida also for a few months, but I came back to California. So,
there you go. You
that's,
missed those high taxes, right?
oh God, that's a different conversation, right? The one thing that we hate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you went down through that. What was the point? I have a number of doctors that have brought their startups to GSD. I have neurosurgeons from places like Yale, um, all kinds of different medical technologies. But what was a decision point? I know you started MediRX. Were you a practicing physician when you started it, or
Yeah.
did you do that separately?
Yes. So MediRX was started out of again, you need to build solutions. That's what the people do. And as a doctor, I wanted to find the treatments that patients were complaining of drug prices, and especially the same drug with different prices. And so like, why is it like if one pharmacy that? So I digged into it and I found that there we need to have a transparency on the drug price. And that's how the MediRx was started while I was practicing, to provide more solution to the patients where they really cannot see the prices of prescription medication before the e-prescriptions are sent.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Mark Cuban's been working on some of those things too, right?
He's trying to bring the generic, more affordable medications, but still there's no transparency, right? If I want to compare Mark Cuban's medication to what the Ralph is selling, I don't have that platform which Expedia provides. You can compare the pricing of airlines. So if I can compare hotels, I can compare airlines. Why can I not compare the prescription medication? So that was the main motive to bring that MediRx to life.
And how's MediRx doing these days?
MediRx is doing good. It is being, we are partnered with 70,000 pharmacies across US, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico, because in addition to the transparency, we also have the discount card that is attached. So if your prescription is not covered by insurance, or you do not have an insurance, you're visiting a country, or whatever the scenario is, you can use the discount card and do the saving out of pocket. And that's really good, doing good when it's with the people, especially when the medications are specialty medications not under coverage.
So Priyanka, I have a question for you. Do you have covered, so like trizepatide, right? Do you work with compounding pharmacies too? Because on one side you get something like, is it not Wegovy, Monjorno, that's a trizepatide, but you can compound it and get it a lot cheaper. Do you work with them? Because that would be a great fix, right? To have compounded pharmacies and say, oh, you can do Monjorno, or you can do a compound, and then instead of 1,300, it's 500 or $400.
Absolutely. So that's a little bit like, a kind of a thing, because compounding pharmacies are generally like, mom and dad pharmacy, like it's individually owned. So it's a very much decision of the owner. Do you want to come on board, provide that transparency? So that's kind of different in different states. Some agrees, but we don't have much of those. But yes, we have few compounding pharmacies that are ready to provide the transparency, and on the addition, use a discount cards. Whereas when it comes to the corporates like CVS, it's like headquarters says you, everybody use it. So it's a little bit with the different when it comes to the private.
Interesting. All right. So you did that. And then, so when did you get your first taste of being an entrepreneur?
I think when I was in Russia, I think it sort of was always in me, but I didn't know that there's a term for it as an entrepreneur, right? When you were studying, while studying, I always wanted to do something, on the side, which is not directly related to medicine, because I wanted to explore, learn new verticals. So I did teaching. And when I was in Russia, obviously, first of all, it's the money that you get as a student you can make. Again, it was very
What
different
did
because
you teach? Priyanka, what did you teach?
English.
I was going to say, I bet you did that English first or one of those companies, right?
Exactly, exactly. Because being an Indian, secondly, being a Brit, because I studied in a British school, so I had all that, tools that is needed. So in Russia, that was a very fit thing.
You
So
hit the jack,
huh?
you hit the jackpot because they love to have British teachers who can play the whole role. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, we've been ruled by them for 100 years, right? So we need to take some profits out of it.
There
So
you go.
that's where in Russia I was able to do. But I really like doing, like, the business. So obviously, first I started teaching, but in the private schools, but then I started my own, a very small, like tuition kind of a business there. And I did that and I really enjoyed doing it. But again, medicine was my first love. And when I went back to India, I totally worked as a doctor. When I came to US, one thing I realized traveling around the world, it's like in medicine, in healthcare, it's access to the quality care, and that is defined, restricted by the borders a lot, right? And that's where my thing started. Well, like, okay, let me first do some local solution, MediRX, and then I went to the global solution, which is my current startup, cross border care.
So let's going down through this journey. So if you look at it as an entrepreneur, so you started teaching English, but what kind of lessons did you learn, Priyanka? Because I deal with a lot of doctors, right, that bring their companies to me. What lessons did you learn? If you could say there's three lessons that you've learned, what are the lessons that you learned to be able to make the transition from, a highly educated professional into this other environment where you're an entrepreneur? What are the differences between being a doctor? And I don't mean, oh, you're talking to patients, but what kind of like mentality differences are there?
I think number one is you start from really ground zero. Like you start from zero. You're a beginner. When you're in a startup world, you're not a doctor who's very highly educated, professionals and, like that. You're starting from complete zero. You need to be humble enough to learn, because startup world, entrepreneur world, the business world is different than what you as a medical doctor you are. So it's very important. And I think it's hardest thing because it gets inbuilt in you after years of going through that professional medical career. It's very different. So the first step would be like, get yourself humble, understand you're starting from zero. You're really a beginner in this, the leap that you've taken. The second, I think, is about be ready for uncertainties. Medical professional gives you the security, right? Obviously, we work for it for years of studying, but it gives you security. It comes with a security. It definitely requires a lot of hard work, even when you're working, but there's a security. When you're going into startup world, you don't come into with certainty. There's a uncertainty every day, every time, right? You need to be prepared for that. So that is would be the second. And then the third most important is your inner circle, because telling your family member or inner circle people is like, why are you taking this transition for something so well respected, secure, both money wise, respect wise, family wise, and going into something which is completely uncertain? You don't know. You can hit it too big, make it a unicorn, or you can really do nothing out of it, right? So explaining why you're doing it to others, the inner circle, I think is the another hardest challenge.
Yeah, it's hard with parents, right? Telling your parents after all that money and time, why are you doing this thing? How were those conversations, by the way? When you had those conversations, what were they like?
So in the starting, I used a lot of words. I wanted to make people understand, explain why I'm doing it, because I want to make an impact. See, when you do any startup, startups are solving something, right? They're solving a problem, which is something they feel is important, right? So you're really bringing a solution which brings an impact. And in the medical and healthcare, the impacts are not like, oh, I'll make you rich. No, I'll make you live, right? Make you live longer and healthier. So that impact was the reason. And to make that people understand that, I used to use a lot of words. Ultimately, I got tired. And what I did is, and what I think I should have learned a little earlier, don't use too much words. Let your actions speak, because it's not that they don't want you to succeed or they don't want you to do, but they don't understand. It's like it takes time, right? So let your actions, your work make them understand. So that's what I did after my struggles. Like, okay, let me be quiet, let the action speak. And fortunately, now I think my biggest supporters are my parents, especially my mother.
No, that's great. So you're going down through this journey. The thing is, I've seen a lot in terms of the medical profession. I call it medical infobesity. It's kind of interesting because, and I deal with a lot of doctors all over the world. I had systemic stem cells done in Thailand. I deal with top oncologists out in your neck of the woods. Um, but one of the things, it's amazing because there's so many pockets. They're kind of like moats around them, where they don't share information. It's unbelievable because one hand doesn't know the other. We just went it through a situation where we needed to get MRI done, and we couldn't get a report back for 11 days. And from I won't name the group, but I was really upset. It was crazy. I said, "How can you be this inefficient? It's unbelievable. You can't find a radiologist to read the images. It's why isn't the system better?" I had one person tell me one time, I want to get your opinion on this, that, and this was a person high up in the health insurance, top health insurance executive, retired. But he said to me, one of the things with the health insurance, the situation is we make money on people that are older, right? And we just keep them a little bit better. And my response was, why don't we go down through and have life insurance companies become health insurance companies, because then they'd want people to live. It's crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, it's insane. And the thing is, there's so many smart people like yourself out there, but if you're not connected with the rest of the group to understand what's happening, maybe there is a stem cell that'll work. And people just don't know about it. Maybe there are immunotherapies that'll help cure the cancer and people don't know. But somehow, we have a couple companies in GSD trying to solve that, but somehow we've got to aggregate the information. And I like what you're doing, because it's not just about, here in the US, it's about where's that person located everywhere, whether they're in India or Thailand, where I got mesenchymal stem cells, which you can't do in the US. And cereboplysin, which is the peptide, right? That's not done here. It's done in other places. It's crazy. Why don't we have it set up so it's wherever? And I'm not asking for an answer, but it's unbelievable. It's mind-boggling.
Absolutely. And that's what I feel like, that our healthcare is operating in silos, right? As you rightly said, like they don't communicate with each other. They do not coordinate the care. Whereas to treat one patient, there are actually seven pillars in healthcare that works for the whole care cycle of it. They don't talk to each other. Who suffers the most? The patient, the caregiver.
Patient can die. It's unbelievable, Priyanka. I've gone through, you can look, I've written 500 articles, and I've written a lot recently about this exact problem because I went through it myself. I had stage 3 kidney disease, and I got it because I was taking too much ibuprofen because my back hurt really bad. I didn't realize it. I went over to Thailand. I ended up getting mesenchymal 44 million stem cells, mesenchymal, from one of the top doctors in the world, Dr. George at Revival. Anyhow, within a week, my kidney stage 3 was actually, it had repaired my kidney and taken out to normal. It's unbelievable. My back, my sciatica, and this happened to me directly. I'd been hurting for 30 years because of a judo incident that I had, stopped hurting after 3 hours. And for me, I thought to myself, well, geez, on one side, there's some mental, placebo effect. On the other side of it, this is actually from the test, my kidney disease went away. And so, having that opportunity, second opinions, being able to get treated by the right doctor and get it done. If you got cancer, to go to a place like MD Anderson, but maybe you can't get in, right? They want to get you in January and you don't have January. You don't want to go from stage 3 to 4. You want to get in as soon as you can. The other thing is, and I didn't see this, and I want to talk to you about it. These concierge doctors, I have 2 concierge doctors right now. And I mean, only reason I have them, first of all, they're really smart, and thank you, docs. But the other thing is they have the contacts to get you in. You don't have to screw around. That's the other thing, right? Have you ever thought about MediPocket with the concierge approach? Hey, listen, you can spend $5, $7, $10,000 for a doctor, but if you just had a doctor that's top, for instance, cardiology, top in their field, that can make referrals for you, it changes everything, right?
Absolutely. The right care at the right time is crucial, and that's where I think we miss it sometimes in the system when we get into the traditional system. So with MediPocket, what we do is a cross-border care. The few things pointers that you talk, that most patients struggle, not just locally, internationally, more than local, or when they try to get a care here. So in cross-border care, we don't just connect patients. We match them to the right place, the right doctor. which starts by understanding their medical needs. Because I was just talking to one of our partner in Dubai this morning, and for them, it was like sometimes patient comes with the only name that they have heard everywhere, like Mayo Clinic, right, or MD Anderson, but they do not understand with their particular condition, is Mayo Clinic the only option, or
Yeah,
their
that's it.
option?
And that's the hardest thing. Who's the one? I just did it. So a friend of mine has cancer, and I talked to one of the top docs, oncologists in the U.S. who knows the people directly, and he knows because he is the MediPocket for me to be able to help figure it out. But it's important because if we strive to like mesenchymal stem cells that I have, people said that doesn't work. It doesn't exist. The guy's done 6,000 treatments over 14 years. Some of the top docs, top universities went to Thailand because they could use umbilical cords to get these stem cells alive to be able to help plasma, right? Plasma matched to you. It's like having liquid energy pumped into your system. It changes everything. So it's amazing to me. We talk about longevity and living to 150. By the way, I worked on a project with some Stanford students a number of years, about 14 years ago, talking about living to 150. But then we were talking about some of the things we should be doing now, right? Here's the other thing. How do Priyanka, the thing that, the amount of information on the planet Earth today is about 174 zettabytes of data. If you took DVDs or CDs and stacked them one on top of another, it would go about 127 times between the Earth and the Moon, growing at 70% per year. The problem is infobesity, right? In your own Priyanka's world, you have 300,000 items in your personal cloud, Priyanka. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You, Priyanka, have more information in your personal cloud, the entire web. The problem is Priyanka's world is following the same trajectory as the web. By that, I mean doubling every year. In 5 years with IoT, Internet of Things, you're going to have 10 million items. As smart as you are and all the things, the problem, I mean, think about it. Over the last 3 weeks, how many times somebody said, Priyanka, I sent you an email. Did you get it? Where did you send it? I sent it to your account. Which one? I think I sent it to your corporate MediPocket account, or I sent it to one of your other accounts, your Yahoo account or Gmail, whatever. When did you send it? Days ago. Let me check. I can't find it. That problem, that issue with the infobesity in your own personal cloud is killing us. We're so inundated. In psychology, you remember from your psychology classes, is a condition called learned helplessness, which is so much stimuli you freeze. I think we're at that point because now people are using WhatsApp, right, to filter their email. They're saying, send it to me on WhatsApp because you're not going to find it in your email.
Right.
It's nuts. It's insane. And so having tools like what you have, I've been talking about, I've spoken at the United Nations, I've spoken all over the world about how we got to democratize opportunities for everybody. And here's the other thing. You don't know if it's going to be covered. You may have a situation where you've got cancer and there's buffoons that don't cover it because, there's politics, there's other things. And I've seen it myself personally, right? I was at one of the major university hospital in the U.S. I went in an emergency, and I had a gallbladder problem, and a stone got spit out. They weren't going to cover it was emergency. They weren't going to cover it because I had a coverage in Florida, but when I was out of the state, it had to be an emergency. They tried not to cover it. It was crazy. And I mean, I know a lot of people, so I called the board of trustees of the university and the president of the hospital, right? The CEO of the hospital. And of course it got done. But what if it was somebody else that couldn't do it? It's not fair. It's just not fair, Priyanka. And so, I applaud what you're doing. How much revenue do you guys have today? Are you producing revenue yet or not?
We have pretty decent revenue, and we started generating revenue last year. What we are doing is we have expanded into 7 different regions around the world. So as I said, this is cross-border care, so we match patients to the right care globally. For that, we also have partnered, as we were just talking about longevity, there are blue zones in the world, right? So, and especially Japan has done the super aging secret. Like, they know the super aging secret. So what we do is we match or we partner where the care is best for that particular condition. So if you're healthy, you want to live healthier and longer, that's where the secret zone is. So we also do, beside treating patients, we also do the prevention and longevity and wellness program, which is the Blue Zone Travels. So in MediPocket Vertical, what
Explain to them what Blue Zone travels, because I have my audience is wide, worldwide. We're in the 70 some countries now. So tell them what Blue Zone means.
So, blue zones are the zones in the world where naturally people live longer and healthier. So, they have some secrets in there, which is related to the environment they're living in, the type of food they're eating, their activities, social activities, that these people naturally live longer and healthier. Now, there's only selected blue zones around the world. There are two in Japan, there's one in US. So, there's across the world there.
There's one in Greece called Ikaria, because I studied it myself. So when we were doing our analysis of living to 150, and so people have a lot less stress. They have a lot of olive oil, right? They live their lives and enjoy it, and they're not thinking about the stressful things. They're thinking about how to be happy and positive.
I mean, that's, I think it's a very, the key for everything, right? Be satisfied, be happy, less stress. But the world we are living in, it's difficult not to be stressful, especially that you have so many things that you get stressed at least 1,000 a day, right? The thing is, like in Japan, Okinawa, and areas like that, what we're trying to bring is, see, it's hard for people to change from their regular lifestyle, right? So when they are in the same environment, we have to move them to that environment temporarily. They learn these new skills, tools, and then they take back to their home country and apply that to live longer and healthier. So with blue zone travels, like as I say, explained, these regions are the regions where people naturally live longer and healthier. We take people to these blue zones, both medical wellness, while we do the health checkups, we do everything, but natural, what they have, they learn there from the people of the they are not the doctors, but these are the communities, right? And then that's a travel is like, the packages differ how and what, which area they want to go, but then they live there for a week, they could live there for 2 weeks, and they go back. Now when they go back, we are humans, we lose the habits very quick. So with MediPocket, we do the continuous care. We maintain the with these people that have traveled, and do the continuous care, monitoring, guiding them. Hey, you're losing here. Hey, you need to pick up on this habit, or this needs to be done. So we do the continuous care with them. So with MediPocket, our thing is not only treating patients when they are sick, but also helping the population that do not want to get sick, or at least want to live longer and healthier by delaying, the diseases to come. Disease would
No,
come.
that's it. What about CRISPR? Are you doing anything with CRISPR in Costa Rica now?
So we do have some partnerships there. We do send our patients there, but again, we need to
For
be very.
CRISPR, though, for CRISPR directly, because it's really interesting. I'm starting to do a lot of research on CRISPR because I mean, if you can eliminate disease completely, right, that's a whole different paradigm shift.
True, but I think it is very individualized, right? So it's not that anyone can do it or anyone could fit into it, as you understand, right? So we take a very personalized and individualized approach. What we started doing in collaboration with few institutes here in US and in Mexico, we do cancer vaccines. Now, these vaccines are not preventative, because people do get confused with the word vaccine. Most cancer vaccine, there's only one cancer vaccine that is preventative, and we all
That's
know.
for papilloma.
Yes, but now the cancer vaccines are getting developed, which are personalized cancer vaccine based with your genetic makeup, and these are used in parallel with your treatment, whatever the treatment you're going through, immuno, chemo, radiation. In parallel, these vaccines boost your own immune cells. It helps to get better result outcome from your treatment. Plus, it increases the quality of life, and in many cases, could extend the lifeline. Also,
How
there's
do you
no.
go down through? So I just did this for my dog, by the way. So for all of you out there, if you look on, I had almost 500 articles done because we built an immunotherapy vaccine for my dog, my basset hound.
Oh.
So when you're going down through, what does it cost to get that done? Like, what is the cost of it? So for the audience out there, because there are people that have cancer in their families right now, what is it? how do they do it? Like, I'm not trying to get the secrets. I'm just trying to figure out what is the cost for somebody to do that, and do insurances cover those kind of therapies?
So cancer vaccines are not covered because these are still, some are in the clinical trials and all that. They are not covered. But these cancer vaccines again requires a lot of coordination of the pieces from the testing to the production, as you know that depending on what type of tumor or the cancer you have, what type of cancer vaccine you're going for. Now, there are off-shelf vaccines available that are ready to use until the personalized get developed. Just to give a little average cost, they generally starts from 30,000 and now it can go to where it leads, depending on how much biohacking and stuff needs to be done in order to produce your personalized vaccine. But again, if you compare the other treatment cost of the cancer, they still don't come on a very higher side. They start from 30 and like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I know for my dog, we got a immunotherapy vaccine bill. It cost me $20,000. I had 20,000 totally into it, not just for the vaccine, for some of the other things that was involved. But but it should be available for everybody, Priyanka. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Why isn't it that somebody's got to spend 30 to $100,000 for a vaccine when everybody would drop the costs of our healthcare system down? Is it because? And I'm not asking for the complete answer on this thing, but for me, a lot of pharmaceutical companies will be out of business if there's no cancer, right? So I think there's some kind of greed involved in it. People want to make money, and we should go down through and make these available for everybody. They should be covered by insurances so that everybody has a chance to live their life the fullest.
Absolutely. And I think it should be covered, but most importantly, it should be made available, right? See, I always believe the cost is important factor, but people, you can make that money back, right? If you are living, you will be able to make it. Some people, if you're taking loan to get that back, whatever it is, you'll be able to make that money back if you have life, right? So the availability is more important, accessibility is more important, especially when it's international patients. See, the Americans still have know about those, right? So now there becomes the affordability sometimes a question, or maybe the information, right? Information availability. International patients want them. They don't have accessibility. So with MediPocket, what we do it, if you cannot travel because US is far for a lot of people distance wise,
Where
especially
do
from.
you Are there immunotherapy vaccines in the U.S. or are they some other country?
So we work with in collaboration with the institute here, but they get produced in Mexico, right? Because again, you can avoid a lot of regulations, the delays and all that, but they are worked under the US oncologists who define and design them, but the production happens near shore, which is Mexico. Very much work with Mexico on cancer vaccine production, especially the institute that are in Tijuana. The reason is the quality can be very well controlled because literally they are just next border and everything is with the US guidelines that is being done. But the part with the international patients I was talking about is like sometimes if the patients cannot travel because of the distance and their health condition, for vaccines, they don't have to travel. Like last month, we supplied delivered the vaccine in India for a brain tumor patient. For these, what
How did
important.
it work out? How was it, Priyanka? What was the results?
So it's just delivered last month to the patient and it is being given with the protocol that is defined by the US doctor working in coordination with the local oncologist and in India. Obviously, because it's the patient only has got 2 doses out of the 9, which is the protocol. It is showing better. They have tapered down on the steroids, right? I mean, there's a lot of factors depending on which
Yeah, yeah.
cancer, as you know. So it is definitely, it will take time to show, but the good thing is the medication part, the local oncologist, the report is it is giving a better result. Only with the 2 dose it's going, we will see within 2 months we'll be able to get better outcome out of it. But we have done with the patients in China also. And again, these are not
How,
miracles.
how much does it cost? Like for that, what would it cost for something like that? Just what is something like nine vaccines? What kind of cost is it for?
So, like for example, let's talk about the very recent use case, like this one, a brain
Mhm.
tumor, the glioma one patient that we did. So they went for the off-shelf vaccine, off-the-shelf, ready-to-use vaccine, because personalized is getting developed, which will take 3 months to 2 months for to development. Now, this one, including the 9 doses of vaccine, including the adjuvant, which is leukine, which is needed to be used with vaccine, the consultation, the delivery, everything costed them around between 40 to $50,000.
Got it. I mean, the situation is, if you look at my recent articles over the last 3, 4 months, I have a lot of breakthrough medical technology companies. We have one actually, as of yesterday, top engineers from top universities have built a vest that you put on. What it does is it takes electromagnetic fields around the cancer, for instance, breast cancer, and stops them from dividing. Completely stops them from dividing. Now imagine that that's there. You know what I mean? And there's a long. I can talk to you offline about the story about that. I have another one. It's called AI for Pets. It looks in the pet's eyes, and it's a Korean company. I have
Mhm.
another company that came out of Boston Scientific, and this particular company goes down through, and your breath has it can tell if you've got all kinds of different diseases, things like cancer, just based on your breath. Now imagine you talk about continuous monitoring. If you did that every month, I go into my doctor now. I get trizepatide once a week, personally from my doctor. I go in there, but imagine if you go in every month instead of. It's crazy. You go in for a physical, right? What happens if you get cancer the day after you have your last physical? What happens? You got 12 months of uh, a problem where this thing's developing. We need to figure out how to continuously monitor. So, and then access to the resources to be able to help finding the best. It's not about just going to an oncologist. It's somebody that understands carcinoma, understands breast cancer, understands what the remedies are, right? Doesn't just have a one shot approach to it. And it's kind of crazy. We don't have a streamlined system to do it. So I'm really, I applaud I built 17 companies myself, and I've been doing this for 40 years. So going down through and building companies, and I see where we need to take a different paradigm shift. The other thing is stem cells that I talked to you about. Imagine being able to eliminate dementia or reduce it. Imagine they just had a situation with supranuclear cerebral palsy where the guy could barely walk, and he got up within a couple of days and was walking. He couldn't move his hands, and he was moving his hands. Another guy came. One of the top celebrities' fathers went into one of the clinics and had a heart attack, and and had this treatment, and these stem cells went in to his heart and repaired damage to the heart. It wasn't 100%. It was a lot better. He lived another 10 years, 9 years. So imagine that. It's unbelievable, but we got to know about these things. It's just, knowledge is power. We got to figure it out. And, that was my pitch at the United Nations. I was talking about technology as a tool for peace. They originally wanted me to talk about something else, and I changed my pitch right on the spot because I said, we better learn to live together. It's crazy, and help each other. We're in this beautiful little planet, Priyanka. You saw the thing. I lived in Russia myself, and I was so afraid of going to Russia. I was so afraid of going to the Ukraine or Belarus at the time, personally, because I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't read the letters. They looked like Greek to me. And so I remember going into it, and then after a while, understanding it and developing and think about, what are the similarities and not the differences. And then if you do that, you can figure out, how to live your life better, how to be able to connect with the people. And so anyhow, I love what you're doing. How do people get a hold of you? Like I said, I hear about this stuff all the time because I'm writing about it myself. But how do people get a hold of you, and how do they enroll in the program?
Very simple. They can either connect with me on LinkedIn, which is the best way for people to connect, or they can reach MediPocket through the MediPocket website. It's medipocketusa.com. They can find us on LinkedIn, other social media platform. The first step is you send us the message, which is by connecting any of these platforms. Let us know about your medical condition. And from there, we guide you what should be your next step. We always say, let the experts do their part. As a caregiver, you tell us about your problem, let us find the solution, the best solution for you. And one thing I always say, as we were talking about the system, what is missing in our system is 3C or the 2C of the care, which is it should be coordinated and continuous, because you rightly said, what in the after my doctor visit is the time I'm getting that disease, I'm waiting for longer. So continuous coordinated care is where at MediPocket we are doing. Oh, difference is we are doing it cross border, so you're not limited by geography or where quality care can be provided.
No, that's great. And so, closing thoughts for everybody, and anything else that you want to add?
I would want to add one thing: don't take your health for granted. It is not something that is given just as a permanent to you. You need to take care of it every day and be very watchful about it.
That's great. Well, thanks for taking time out of a busy schedule. I'll end the show and then stay on, and we'll talk a little bit. To all my audience out there, thank you for joining one more time. GSD Presents. Actually, this is a Simple Night Presents version today. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And we'll be back to you again soon with another exciting edition. Thank you, everybody.